overall opinion about this? I mean, it seems like there's like it seems like there's a whole different like ecosystem of different energies and spirits, and I mean, each case seems to be somewhat unique, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, and am of the personal belief that not all entities are human entities necessarily. I definitely believe there's a different realm of existence that, sometimes, the veil, as they call it, can grow a little bit thin.
Definitely.
But, it's hard to say. Again. But I just remember I had, I'm from Louisville, and I was walking. We were doing a walkabout tour of Louisville, looking at all the different houses, and there was two houses in particular that just gave me a really, really bad feeling, like an overwhelming feeling of like very similar to the feeling I felt before I, got onto the elevator.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, there's something about those houses, like I just don't like them. And then finally, the tour guide mentioned to me, oh, yeah, those houses are haunted, And these houses had been like, 2 or 3 miles apart. So the two houses that had given me bad feelings, happened to be the two that were haunted on the tour. She just had not mentioned that to me. Especially the large one we saw at the end. It was almost like it was staring me down, like just daring me to come into it. And I, to this day, I want to go into that house and see what's going on in there, because it seemed like almost like there was something watching me from the inside of that house, like it knew that I knew in a way,
Strange, but I think I know exactly what you're talking about. It's almost like an initiation when you go to a particular place. It's like whatever is there, it recognizes you, and it's almost like people who are more sensitive to that. I mean, maybe it does to everybody, but not everybody recognizes it. But I have definitely experienced people who are more sensitive to this. Like, it's almost like saying hello. It's like resonating with the energy of that place, even if it's dark or scary. It's almost like you just have a feeling about it. And like honestly, I mean, my own house, ironically, has had that. It's kind of weird. I guess. I mean, before I didn't really mention a lot that has happened in the house. Would you want me to like mention a thing or two about?
Oh, definitely.
Okay, well, I mean, I think this got cut off before we got the recording going.
Yeah, we had some technical difficulties, so if the podcast sounds a little odd, that's
a little
why.
chopped up.
Yeah.
But okay, so I didn't get to mention before a couple events that happened even in my house, and we also mentioned before that when you're doing renovations on a house, there tends to be, and for some reason, more paranormal activity. It's almost like a paranormal spike. We're not sure why. Maybe it's because you're messing with the energy of the house in some way, or something to that degree. But for some reason, when you renovate, more paranormal activity can happen, especially in a house that already has something weird going on. So when I was in high school, we were doing renovations, and a lot of I decided to move in earlier than my parents, just because I get to live in my house by myself. This is cool. Invite my friends over. But the first night I stay there, I'm there on my own. Yeah, I set up my room, and I just start to hear in the middle of the night just footsteps and noises, and I'm thinking, oh, maybe it's just the house because it's creaky. But I really start to listen, and these noises are a little bit more consistent, almost as if somebody's shuffling around on the first floor. And mind you, we added a second floor and did a little bit of renovations on the first floor. So I'm up on the second floor, and I'm hearing this. And then I start to hear, throughout the night, like almost like a woman's voice, like laughing. And I've heard this before, actually. Not long after the renovations, but a couple months after. I remember waking up, being like half awake. And when you're half awake and you don't really, you're aware of sounds and stuff going on around you, but you don't really think about it, You only start to think about it when you wake up, like, oh, Mom was cooking breakfast this morning. I heard her downstairs, now that I think of it. Something like that. So I hear this woman laughing, or like giggling or cackling, and I hear my dog just barking for like a minute until I, wake up and snap out of it, and then I think, wait, what was that? What was going on the first floor? So, a lot of noises, a lot of voices, and then when I had a few friends stay over during the renovations too, they actually also heard strange noises and that voice again and footsteps. So that was like a very common thing that started to happen, and it happened like every night. So I don't know what that's all about. But just to get on point, in my basement, I guess most of the activity that I've experienced has happened before renovations. I heard this. It sounded like shuffling in the basement, like someone was going through the stuff. Like, because I have an unfinished basement. So I'm thinking like, oh, maybe we have a burglar in the house. So at the time, I had a Japanese bokken. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's a wooden sword, and I grabbed that, and all of a sudden I hear footsteps going up from the basement to the first floor, and I get out with my Japanese sword and wooden sword, and I go out there, and I see in my living room, actually right by the nightlight, this shadowy blob. It wasn't really in the figure of a person, but it was this cloud, this black cloud, similar to what we were mentioning before. And the thing starts to, like, I guess, float towards me. And at that point, I just turn around and I go back into my room. I just don't know what to do.
Yeah, it's just like, I give up. Yeah.
Like, okay, you're not a burglar. I don't know what you are. But I gained enough courage to open the door after like 10 minutes. Like, okay, I don't know what it is. And meanwhile, I hear like creaks and stuff. I don't know. I mean, they could have just been creaks, but at this point, they're coming directly from outside my door. So I'm thinking the worst. So I open the door, and I see that shadow thing literally just float up through the ceiling into the attic. At this point, we didn't add the second floor, and then I'm thinking like, oh, all right. So I just go in the bathroom, wash my face, put the light on, and as I'm just standing there, I start to hear footsteps in the attic. And at this point, I'm like, what is going on? And then it just stops, and nothing else happens for the rest of the night, and any kind of weird vibes kind of just disappears. The next morning, I go into the basement just to check it out because that's where I heard most of the noises. And oddly enough, there's a pile of random stuff just put right where I heard the noises. And I asked my parents, like, did you put this here? Who put this pile here? And nobody confessed to doing it. So I just thought that was one of the stranger events with actual physical
funny.
stuff there.
Like a ghost pack rat. Like, I'll just these are my things. I'll just put them here. That's interesting.
Yeah, I just don't know what that was.
That's interesting that you talk about renovations and the effect on that can have on ghosts. Because I know my mother, I'm using my parents' ghost stories again, but my mother, when she was, a young woman, just starting in college, her parents moved out of their old home into a new home that they had gotten at a very good price, which should, to show you something, that such a nice house would come for so low. And my aunt and uncle, who were still, young at the time, were living with them still. And when my mother used to come home for holidays and that sort of thing, she would hear footsteps from the ceiling, like there was someone working on the house. And she didn't know very much, and there was construction, as you said, going on in the house at the time. So she thought it was, perhaps a construction worker working on the house. So she went outside to look at the roof. There was no one there, so she went back to bed. And